to 2021. I think this is my first solo episode in 2021. Chai Putty Mom at the helm here.
Hey everyone,
Hey,
Happy New
everybody.
Year.
And we've got a lot going on, new stuff in 2021. Honey, you have the Teddy cam on. He's right behind you if you want to show folks Teddy right over there. And that's the new addition to the family.
Grown
He's
young
getting
man.
bigger.
Hey Teddy.
And guess what else is getting bigger?
All of us, we're all getting
The
bigger.
apron strings are a little tighter than they used to be in 2020. And but the hair is under control and the food is on point as always. So actually it's been a while since we've done something just where I went solo, and somebody made a recommendation that I do Cholle or Chana Masala. And that's a fantastic recommendation because it's a fabulous meal for when it's cold and wet and gloomy outside. It's a perfect hearty, warm me up meal, vegetarian, with chickpeas, garbanzo beans. So let's jump into showing everybody how to make Chana Masala. So folks ask all the time, well, what's the difference between Cholle and Chana Masala? And honestly, I think it's a regional thing. I think that in sort of a Punjabi style is more what they call Chana Masala. It may also be a bean legume thing where you might use the smaller black style chickpeas instead of the bigger garbanzo beans. But I've always grown up cooking and eating cholle. This is how my mom showed me how to do it. This is chai pani style cholle. So that's what we're gonna make today with a proper garbanzo bean. Delicious. Okay, oil, pot. I know people keep asking how much.
How much? What is
What's
that?
going on?
What is in
I'd say
there?
it's about
What kind
probably
of oil?
about 2 tablespoons of oil. Just a neutral vegetable oil. Grapeseed oil is what we use most often. Sunflower oil, safflower oil, all the canola oil, whatever oil, use it. There you go.
Someone's asking if it's the same thing as a pindi cholle.
As a bindi cholle or pindi?
Pindi with a P is what they've written.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. That's a regional cholle. It sounds like it could be. But we're just going to call it cholle. And here's the funny thing while the oil's heating. I did a dinner with Todd Ginsburg, an incredible chef in Atlanta, at the, what's his, good God, how can I not remember the name of his Jewish deli restaurant? It'll come back
Oh
to
my
me.
goodness. It's one of our favorites.
One of
We're
our-
both-
okay, my brain's dead. But anyways, Todd and I did a Jewish Parsi dinner, and there's a Israeli or Jewish style dish that goes way back called cholle, and it was
Really?
also cooked with tomatoes, spices, and chickpeas. The only difference was that there was meat in his dish, whereas in India it's a vegetarian version. But if you were to put meat in it, it makes complete sense. Other than that, the dishes were almost identical. That's how crazy it is. So we wonder what the etymology of all the stuff is.
That's
Okay,
pretty
oil's
cool.
hot. Why do we get the oil hot? Let me put my...
Somebody's asking about this pan. It's a staub, right?
Yes, it's a Staub pan. I know. I'm kind of balling with the Staub over here. They were kind enough to send me a pan, and I use it as often. Well, I use certain pans for certain dishes. I love my cast iron enameled pots and pans. I use Lodge because they have wonderful cast iron stuff, and I use Staub because they do enameled cast iron, and sometimes I like that better than just regular cast iron. So for this particular reason, we're using an enameled cast iron, and this is a kadai shape. It's sort of almost a wok shape, which works really well for cooking this particular dish. So, but just use whatever you have at home. You just want sort of a wide bottom pot because you're going to be putting chickpeas and you want things to saute. You don't want a skinny narrow pot, and then obviously you don't want just a saute pan because that's not going to be enough to hold everything in here. Okay, oil is smoking. All right, so cumin seeds in. So if you guys remember from previous tutorials, I'm going to put a healthy heaping teaspoon of cumin seed, and the cumin seed starts wiggling right away. You can hear it sizzling and wiggling. And what we're doing at this point is we're flavoring the oil. That's what the cumin seed is doing. That's why we add whole seeds to oil first, because the flavor of that cumin is just going to permeate everything. Almost immediately, I'm going to add some black cardamom. I'm going to explain what the black cardamom is in a minute. Okay, it's not actually burning. I was worried it was going to burn a little bit. I have a second here, so let me stop and explain. Most often in India, black cardamom, which is this really interesting, odd-looking pod, is used with meat-based dishes. Mostly, lamb, goat meat, beef. And it looks like a cardamom pod. It belongs to the same family, I believe, but it's got this incredible, smoky, earthy, musky smell to it. And I actually put a little bit of this in this.
It looks crazy.
I know it does. I put a little. This is my thing. I put it in with the chickpeas because in my mind, like chickpeas is this hearty dish, almost as a substitute for meat. With the garbanzo, it's got this real hardiness to it, and that smoky muskiness of the black cardamom goes well in this dish. I know for some folks that are used to cooking Indian food, they're probably going like, WTF? but I'm telling you, yes, TF. Okay, so next goes onions. I had about a cup and a half, almost 2 cups. It was a medium-sized white onion that I diced small and pre-sauteed to save us all time. What size white onions? People always ask me. Just a normal medium-sized white onion. Red, white, use whatever you want. I was just in the mood for white today, so I used white onion. So that's in, and we're gonna mix that up with our black cardamom and cumin seeds. And why did I pre-fry it? Just so that I can save time on the show. Otherwise, it would have added another 10 minutes of me sauteing onions down. So that's why I went ahead and did that early, and I added them in. Okay, and since the onions are almost done, about I'd say 70 to 80% done, this is the phase at usually which I'd be adding the ginger garlic paste. So we're going to do that right now. Ginger garlic paste.
So you just sauteed the onions separately.
I just did it
before
separately
you came on.
Exactly.
Just for in like neutral oil, whatever kind of high fry oil.
Exactly.
High temp fry oil.
Normally, I would have you just, obviously put the cumin seeds in, put the black cardamom, put the raw onions in, and start cooking. It would have taken about 10 minutes to get to this point.
How would Vidalia's taste in this?
Probably
too sweet.
Yeah, probably too sweet. You want a sharper flavored onion in here. A red onion or a white onion.
But if that's all you've got at home, go for it.
But exactly.
It's pandemic cooking.
Exactly. That's the whole idea here. I want people to get comfortable with cooking with whatever's in hand and not get too hung up. Onion is onion, as we say. Take it and go.
And somebody wants to know if you made your own ginger garlic paste.
So that's exactly what I did. Let me add actually about I want to go with almost a tablespoon of ginger garlic paste in the situation here. And put this aside. So again, if you guys have seen previous shows where I go on and on and on about ginger garlic paste, I think I actually did a tutorial on it. It's half and half peeled garlic fresh and peeled ginger fresh. Half and half literally means half and half. You want to do a 1/4 cup of each, a handful of each, eyeball it, throw them both in a food processor, just buzz it until you get a coarse paste like this. And the ginger and the garlic are mixed together. You can also go to Indian grocery stores and buy it by the jar load, but it's so easy to make at home. Why not just make it at home, and you can store it in the fridge. Just put it in a glass mason jar and throw it in the fridge, and it'll stay in there for weeks. And you'll find yourself using it on everything. It's an incredible base for marinades. So if you wanted to marinate a pork chop, a lamb chop, I'd rub some ginger garlic paste all over it in addition to whatever other rubs and spices you want to put. Okay.
Doesn't Nauser freeze it in ice cube trays?
You can freeze them in an ice cube tray and just pop out an ice cube of ginger garlic paste if you want them pre-measured by the tablespoon. Okay, that's all sauteing away in here, and now I'm going to add some extra ginger, some extra garlic, and some green chilies because I want a little bit of background zing. I want a little bite of the garlic and the ginger. Why did I wait till now? Well, I kind of wanted the onions to be done cooking because garlic by itself will burn. And I didn't want it to, go in too early and have it burn. And the green chilies, I kind of want to keep some of the freshness of the chili. I didn't want to cook them down to nothing. All right, so we can put them all together.
We have a celebrity on with us. Shireen Auntie is here with us.
Good God, Shireen Auntie.
Shireen Auntie. Oh my God, we're completely overdue for holiday communications. I'm sorry, we're terrible.
It's happening on Instagram.
Here we go. It's happening live. She's also asking a question, which is how long can you keep your ginger garlic paste in the fridge?
Weeks and weeks at a time. I mean, if you add a little bit of lime juice or vinegar and a little bit of oil, I mean, I'm just talking a couple of drops to, an average sized jar of it, it'll last for weeks in the fridge. I mean, I think my record is about 6 to 8 weeks of ginger garlic paste.
Really?
Depending on how much you use of it, you can go through it pretty quickly.
If it's in a glass jar or something, it's not going to stink up the fridge.
Yeah. Keep it in a glass jar because otherwise it will permeate everything in the fridge, as my wife, to a horror, has discovered many times.
Yeah, really, really true. Okay, wait. Since Shireen Auntie might be just joining us, you have to meet the new family member. This is Teddy Irani, in case you hadn't met him yet. Okay, now back to business. Also, somebody asked a question before I forget. Spicewalla, which is what you're repping there. Do you guys ship to Canada?
That's a really good question.
Is that complicated?
It's a complicated answer. We were shipping to Canada, but then we found out that unfortunately we really didn't have a great deal on shipping rates, and quite often folks were spending more in shipping costs than they were for the cost of the product. If you really, really want to ship you to Canada and you're buying a large amount of spices, which I'd highly recommend if you're getting shipped to Canada, like stock up, absolutely email us, and somebody on our fantastic customer service team will be happy to accommodate the request. We just don't want folks to have to pay a ridiculous amount of shipping. We're working on trying to get better shipping rates to Canada, and I actually did an interview with the Canadian National Post a few days ago, so I'm expecting a flood of folks from Canada ready to buy Spicewalla, and we need to figure out what we're doing.
Time to figure it out.
Okay, all right, onions, almost done. You can see the ginger is in there. It's going to continue cooking. It's going to stay a little toothy. The garlic did not burn. The ginger garlic paste is almost completely incorporated. You don't see anything in there, and you can't smell anything raw. And the onions are reaching that state of caramelization that I like to call almost burnt. But not quite burnt, because if it's burnt, then it's too late. But it's an art form. You want to caramelize your onions to where they're just literally, 2 or 3 minutes away from being burnt. And you want to manage your flame really well so that you don't cross that border. And what I mean by that is golden brown, in fact, dark golden brown, almost melting, almost turning into a paste. And it takes cooking at high and medium heat and working it back and forth to turn it into a beautiful golden paste almost, instead of just crispy bits. It takes practice. And if in doubt, obviously don't go past. If in doubt, stop a little earlier and cook. But that caramelization of the onions brings out the sugars, evaporates the water, and creates this depth of flavor. And all those sort of potent oils that make alliums taste so pungent is what is really coming out, and that gives a base of flavor to the dish. You can tell I've been watching a little too much MasterChef, because I've also realized I'm doing this and this like Gordon Ramsay does.
Oh no!
And this, I'm like, no.
Vish is in the house. He's commenting on your haircut.
Thank you, Vish. I'm glad somebody noticed.
Yes,
I know.
know.
To say something. All right, guys. Our onion masala base here is important ingredient. Now this is another what is he doing kind of question. And what I'm doing is, right now I'm going to add a fresh cilantro to the paste. Right. Our daughter's calling, but then she just stopped. Maybe she realized what the hell is going on. Okay, is she calling you too?
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted.
So in case anybody's wondering what is he doing with the fresh cilantro in here right now, I'm trying to create this really almost herbaceous base to this dish, and adding a little bit of cilantro early gets me some of those flavors cooking in addition to at the end when we'll garnish with it. So just a small little handful of fresh cilantro. I'm going to wilt it down. I mean, think like basil, to a marinara sauce, or parsley. You kind of want to wilt it, and then, because from this point forward, we're not going to be frying anymore. I'm going to be adding, tomato sauce and all kinds of other stuff that'll essentially, cook instead of fry the cilantro. So you don't have to worry about it getting too burnt in here. We're just putting it in for that background flavor. If you don't like cilantro, if you're allergic to cilantro, let it go. Don't worry about it. What are you laughing about?
Well, Arya's having car trouble, and Vish is asking, did she dent the car? I want to know, how Vish knows that Arya is calling about car trouble. That's like
she's a teenager.
Psychic or something. Incredible.
Okay, that takes care of that. Now, let's start adding our masalas. All right, guys. This has got very basic masala, but the one that I'm the most excited to talk to you guys about is Dhanajira. What is Dhanajira? Well, we sell it at Spicewalla. Dhana means coriander. Jira means cumin powder. And we basically, jira means cumin seeds. We ground them both into a very coarse blend. And this blend, called Dhanajira, which is coriander and cumin ground together after a light roasting, is absolute magic. It will transform. It's the basis for so many dishes that we just go ahead and put it together in one jar, and we sell it in fairly large sizes too. But this will transform your Indian cooking if you pick up a jar of this. Because you normally see me reaching for cumin powder and coriander powder separately, but something about the blend of them together, kind of like that ginger garlic paste, just does something magical. It just smells incredible. So I'm going to pop some of that in here, a healthy teaspoon of Dhanajira powder. And then I'm going to add a little bit of chili powder. And as you guys know, I love my Kashmiri chili powder, but I'm going very light because Arya might want to come back and have some of this dish once she figures out what's going on with the car.
I think she ran out of gas. She ran out of gas.
Are you kidding me? Seriously?
Welcome to our life, people. Wait, Shireen Auntie was asking what kind of chili pepper you use, because she missed the beginning.
Kashmiri chili powder.
Oh,
That's
sorry,
my favorite.
chilies, actual green chilies. What
Green
kind?
chilies.
Was those
What are
serranos?
those stores got? That's serranos. I
Yeah.
put serranos in there. A little bit of turmeric powder, but just slightly over half a teaspoon. And what else do we have? Garam masala we're saving for the end. We got that, we got that, we got that, we got that. There we go. There's the foundations of these masalas. So put them in there, stir it up, and you can already smell the powders releasing it. Check on your mom is very distracted because she's
I know.
trying to figure out what's happening with
I'm
the
sorry,
teenager.
people. I'm texting teenage land while we're
As long as
filming.
everybody can see me.
Yeah.
All right,
You're
I
on.
can keep talking. Don't worry about me. Okay, I'm going to put a splash, just a splash, of hot water to get the. And you hear that sizzle? That's what we're looking for. That just helps all the spices really incorporate well. Alrighty.
Can you use ghee instead of oil?
Huh?
Can you use ghee instead of oil?
Yeah, it would be too much for this dish. It would be too rich. I mean, this is sort of meant to be a very hearty, sort of, but at the same time, not heavy. A light, sort of a chickpea-based dish. Because, just chickpeas by their very nature tend to be a little heavy. You can get a little, just mealy in the mouth. So I would recommend not cooking with ghee so that you keep that light thing. But if you like ghee, you can do it. Here's what you could do. When you make the rice to go with it, put a little dollop of ghee in the rice. And
Ooh,
that'd be
the
fantastic.
best. I
Actually, I'm
think
gonna do that
every
now.
time we film, somebody asks us about this beautiful cutting board, which our friend Charlie made out of a block of wood. And what kind of wood was this? It was
This is
yeah,
African mahogany.
yeah. And then he just sealed it with a really nice non-toxic wood oil.
Okay, follow along. Is the kid okay?
Yeah, she's okay. Ran
All
out
right.
of gas. She can wait.
Okay, she called AAA.
I don't know.
Sorry,
The whole
Dad.
world doesn't need to know about poor Arya's car troubles.
Okay, fine. A tomato paste. Crushed tomatoes, not tomato paste, crushed tomatoes. You guys have heard me talk about crushed tomatoes in the past. I love them. I prefer them to tomatoes from the market that are chopped in here. And why do I love them so? For folks that are watching for the first time, is because canned crushed tomatoes have far more depth of flavor and sweetness than the market tomatoes, especially this time of the year. Right now, if you were to go to the store and buy tomatoes, you're not getting particularly the tomatoes that have any kind of flavor to them. So most tomatoes that end up in the grocery store, not the farmer's market, your traditional commercial grocery stores, are picked almost raw off the vine and gassed to give them their color. And the idea is by the time they make the trip from the farm to the grocery store that they'll ripen in the store. Well, they don't really. They don't. There's a huge difference between ripening in the store versus ripening on the vine. Canned tomatoes, especially the high quality stuff, especially if you pick up some Italian, like Pomodoro, Stella or San Marzano tomatoes, are just beautiful, rich, vine ripened and crushed and put in a box or a can. And whatever you don't use, because if you get a can and you didn't decide you didn't need the whole thing or a box of it, just freeze the rest like I did. Put it in a Ziploc bag, stick it in the freezer, and then the next time you need to cook, you got extra crushed tomatoes. Because the problem with those is once you open them up, they oxidize pretty quickly. So you can't just leave them in the fridge. You do have to freeze them in order to use them, unless you're just using them the next day. Okay, so now I am cooking.
Hey, Vish,
my
I think
masala.
Charlie probably would make you a cutting board, but just DM Meherwan about it, because I know somebody that can if Charlie can't.
Oh, that's true. We do
Talking
know
about
somebody
this,
can.
talking about
cutting
this
board.
beautiful cutting board that Charlie made.
Okay, so show them what's happening in the pan, honey. This is the magic.
Look at that yumminess. I wish you could smell it. It's just incredible. It smells so good.
So what we're doing now is we're going to cook these tomatoes until they become glossy, darken in color, and some of the water evaporates. What?
Vish can't concentrate because he's too stressed out about Arya being stuck on the side of the road. Don't worry, she's safe, everyone. Especially Vish, don't worry. Just breathe.
It's just out of gas.
She ran out of gas. She's learning life lessons. She's adulting. She's figuring it out. All's well.
I'm trying to D-dad or undad myself. Have you seen those commercials? I forget. I think it's for an insurance company where there's a life dad coach who's trying to help parents not be parents anymore. The slide says,
We need that.
he says, what? I woke up early this day. And the coach goes, nobody cares. All right. So the trick to Indian cooking is developing depth of flavor. You guys have heard me say this over and over again. And two critical points at which you can develop depth of flavor is in cooking the onions and caramelizing them, like I said, and cooking the tomatoes. Cooking the tomatoes down until they're broken down, glossy, rich. The color changes, they darken because the water is evaporating and the sugars are breaking down inside of there, and that acidity is getting concentrated, and that's how you get amazing flavor. Otherwise, you'll just have chunks of tomato floating in a broth without actually doing anything, without adding the flavor to the broth. For folks that even have a hard time digesting tomatoes, sometimes some folks have, slight acidity problems with it.
That's me.
Cooking tomatoes like this actually helps with that because you're breaking down literally. So, I guess on a chemical level, the heat's breaking the tomatoes down to where it makes a difference. I've noticed with some folks. I mean, Molly, like you usually can't eat chunky raw tomatoes, but usually like butter chicken, saag paneer that has the tomatoes cooked like this, chai paneer mom can eat.
It's true.
So it takes time. It takes time and it takes managing your heat. So there's an Indian cooking lesson right there in a nutshell. Time and managing the heat. Because it takes time, you just can't cook at a high flame the whole time. You got to turn it up to get the sizzle, and then once it's sizzling, turn it down so you don't burn. And then once it sort of like slows down the cooking process, turn the heat back up again. If you've ever made scrambled eggs, it's basically the same idea. You're trying to cook, but cook it softly and slowly, so you end up with this beautiful, creamy scrambled egg. And that's what we're doing here, managing the heat all the time, and managing the fat that you cook with. If for some reason this started feeling a little dry, I'd add a little bit more oil to it, but our oil ratio is perfect. And look at the change in the color already, you can tell. And I mean, look at this. I mean, look at that beautiful thick masala. Right now, folks, if you had made a double batch of this, you could have cooled it down, taken some, put it in a jar or Tupperware, stuck it in the fridge, and used it again for another dish, like, down the road if you want to make something else, even saag paneer or something like that. My God. It does smell amazing. All right, if anybody's noticed I haven't salted yet, because I've done that before. I salted my onions, and I was actually a little heavy-handed with the onions, because normally I'd salt the onions lightly and then salt again at this phase, but I'm fairly certain that it's probably has all the salt it needs because of...
because they were oversalted.
They were also oversalted.
A couple people have asked where the recipe will be posted.
The recipe will be posted on Spicewalla's website, spicewalla.com. Just go to recipes, and the video will be up there too, and the recipe will be posted. And then, of course, if you want to follow along, after this is done on Spicewalla's Instagram.
The video is posted there.
Yeah, the video will be posted there.
Along with the recipe. And then
good luck following along.
Yeah, I know, right? Especially with like puppies and car trouble. The other question is, if people DM you on the Spicewalla account, will you be able to communicate with them there about people are interested in this cutting board?
Yes, they can DM me all, at the Spicewalla account. You can also DM me at Meherwan Irani at my account, and I will do my best to figure it out for you.
Meherwan Irani.
Irani. Okay, this is glossy, unctuous. The oil is separating around the edges, and I'm about to put the chickpeas in right now.
And those are just canned chickpeas?
Yes. Good question, honey. Canned garbanzo beans. Drain and wash. Make sure you wash until the water runs clear. Okay? I mean, the water inside, if you wanted to save it for aquafaba or something, you can. But otherwise, just drain and wash, and that way you're... yummy. Okay.
Shireen Auntie, yes. Any kind of oil that's high heat, oil that's not very flavorful, like any kind of frying oil. That was 2 cans?
That was 2 cans. I could have gone a can and a half. It's a little heavy. A can would have been too light, 2 cans. Well, I think it's going to work out fine. So what am I doing right now? Since the chickpeas were already cooked, quite often in India this dish is made where the chickpeas are boiled, from scratch. But here we obviously use canned chickpeas. I'm putting the chickpea in the masala to coat it. Just to coat it so I can get some flavor into the chickpeas itself, right? Because before I add any water to this dish. Okay, just for a few minutes. And now, to finish it off, garam pani, hot water. Why hot water, honey?
So that you don't shock the food.
Yes, so we do not want to
I
shock
did that the other day and I
Cholle.
got scolded. I got scolded by the chef in the house because I was adding cold water to something. Can't remember what.
Oh, yeah. So that was about a cup of hot water. Let's just call it a cup and a half because this will thicken. There we go. Oh, let's call it the whole thing, cup and a half. Boom, done. In. Okay, I'm gonna turn the heat up, bring this to a boil, and let this whole thing cook into a glorious chickpea stew.
what do you think about Instapots for Indian cooking in
Oh,
general? That was a
absolutely
general
fantastic.
question.
I mean, so much Indian food is cooked in a pressure cooker. It's a fantastic thing. We've got one here. We've used it often. If you want to do Indian cooking with Instapot, get Chandra Ram's. I think it's called the Instapot Indian Instapot cookbook.
Wait.
Chandra, help me out.
I know. Where's Chandra? Wait, I feel like I saw it just sitting over here the other day. Where was it? Well, it's Indianish.
Anyway, the name's Chandra Ram. Go to Amazon or wherever your favorite bookstore is, and Google it. And you should find
sorry, I'm showing everybody the ceiling.
You should find an Instapot cookbook done by Chandram, where it's basically Indian recipes adapted for Instapot, and they're amazing. We've done a few dishes from them. We even did a dinner actually with her one time, so that would be my recommendation. I'm sure there's a lot out there, but what I like about hers is kind of like it's developed for the American cook in the American kitchen, and she puts in just perfect shortcuts to help the at-home cook without compromising the flavor and the taste of Indian cuisine.
Indian Instapot cooking. I knew Vish was going to step in and save the
Thank you,
day.
Vish.
Thank you, Vish.
Thanks, Vish, for
Uncle
that.
Vish to the rescue.
All right, so there we have it. See these black cardamom pods? They've done their job. I'm going to pull them out right now and put them aside. And this is going to stew and just thicken slightly. And all we're trying to do is make sure that any of the rawness of the chickpeas being added is sort of cooked out, that the flavors really incorporate together. You don't want to overcook it. The chickpeas are already done, and I don't want them breaking down and thickening the broth. They will break down a little bit. I mean, actually at Chai Pani, what we do is we make such a large amount of it that to speed up the cooking process and to get the consistency where we want, we reserve, maybe like a quarter cup or a cup full of chickpeas, puree it, and then add it back in, and it helps thicken the broth.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that you guys did that.
And adds that little chickpea flavor back to the broth. But at home, you don't need to go through the extra steps. Whenever you can avoid having to wash an appliance, I recommend it highly. All right, let's taste.
Apparently, Madhur Jaffrey has an instantly Indian cookbook also. Must be about Instapots
Well,
or pressure cookers.
oh my God.
Yummy?
Oh my God, yummy. So, there's other tips and tricks. Quite often, Chana Masala, the cousin of Cholle, the garbanzo beans are they look darker, the color's darker, like a browner color. And quite often, what cooks will do in India, or chefs will do in India, they'll boil when they're cooking the garbanzo beans. They'll add some tea bags to it and get the tea color to stain the chickpeas and add this beautiful color, and some of that liquid's added back to the cooking. So you'll notice that the masala is darker and more brown in color. I didn't do it. My masala is a tomato-based masala, so the masala, it's sort of like got that reddish tomato color.
This is interesting. Vish is asking if you would ever use chicken stock instead of water for richness.
I actually almost grabbed some, Vish. I almost grabbed some chicken stock, but Arya is a vegetarian, and I didn't have any vegetable stock handy, so I decided to go with water. Traditionally in India, of course, you use it in water. And bear in mind, we've added so many aromatics at this point already, you've kind of made a base for a stock and then just added water to it. But a chicken stock would just be so delicious if we just give that nice heartiness and a little bit of the background.
And that answers the
umami.
next question too about vegetable stock. You
And
could use
vegetable
either
stock,
one.
same thing. I mean, there's many different types of vegetable stocks that, when you open and smell them, you can kind of get a sense of what they're leading with. I would try to stay away from a vegetable stock that predominantly hits you in the nose with parsley, because I think that flavor, that smell, wouldn't really work well with this kind of a cuisine. But if you smell a nice balanced vegetable stock that's got the onions and the carrots and the celery and all that in there, that's perfect. And if you make your own vegetable stock, try to keep it as, what's the word I'm looking for? Neutral as possible.
Not very herbaceous.
Not too herbaceous, because you can always add those herbs as you're cooking. And there's so much fresh parsley, fresh basil, fresh cilantro. I mean, all of those can be added, in cooking, even fennel. So I like neutral vegetable stocks, and if I was using a vegetable stock with you, that's what I'd be cooking with.
Uncle Jay's asking if we would ever add tamarind to this dish.
Absolutely. It's so funny that you said that, Uncle Jay, because I was actually tasting this and I was like, you use a squeeze more acidity. And the two things you could add to give that acidity would be either tamarind paste or tomato paste. If you didn't have tamarind paste. Tomato paste, it's not quite exactly the same as tamarind paste, but the idea is sweetness and acidity. And because it's such a good idea, I'm going to do it right now.
There you go.
Boom.
See, Jay? Jay knows what he's talking about.
He absolutely does. Where is my bottle of tamarind paste?
Pomegranate powder. Vish is just like always full of the most interesting suggestions.
Please don't say tomato powder.
No, pomegranate powder.
If he says tomato powder one more time.
Didn't we already have the tomato powder debate
already had the great
live
tomato
in
powder.
front of our audience?
Where did my
Okay,
tomato
here's
powder go? Oh, there it
while
is.
he's searching, I'm going to give you something more interesting to look at.
Here we go.
This is our baby Teddy, 4 months old, full-time rascal, but he's learning. He's getting there.
So I'm actually putting tamarind chutney because that's what I have in the fridge right now. But you know, a healthy tablespoon will give it that nice acidity and sweetness also from here.
What about ground umchur?
Yeah, ground lunch is just pure acid, and it's basically green mango dried and then powdered. It would be pure acid, and it might be a little bit strong on the strong side. I mean, you've got a basic cholle here. From this point, go crazy. If you want a little more acidity, lime juice, tamarind paste, tomato paste, amchur. What was Chana Masala to finish the dish off at the end?
No, Devish was asking about pomegranate powder.
Pomegranate powder.
I don't even know what that
sumac,
is.
A little bit of acidity and a little bit of sweetness in a dish like this. And, okay. I'll give this a few more minutes to finish cooking, but I want to show you guys how I'm going to enjoy this. So let me set that up for you. Got my Indian plate.
Aww.
My Indian 3-compartment plate.
Love it.
Let me get a little bit of...
We use those in chai pani.
let's see.
Yes, he has a little scruffer. Whoever is noticing.
Who's noticing what?
Our scruffy boy.
Oh, yes, we have
A
a
little
scruffy
scruffer.
boy. All right.
People keep asking about the pan. This is a Staub. Is that how you pronounce it? Am I saying
Yeah,
that right?
Staub.
Staub.
It's a French company, but they do sell in the U.S. obviously, Staub USA. They specialize in these enameled cast iron, beautiful cookware with this beautiful color on the outside.
Really
So
pretty.
I got myself a little rice, and now let's get myself a little cholle over here. How shall I do this? Let's do it this way. Oh my God! Look at that! Just look at that! Look how
Shireen Auntie,
pretty-
I wish we could send this to you. She wants you to come right now and cook this for her.
Look how beautiful that is. I got that. Let's put a little roti here on the side.
They're cast iron enamel for the person that was asking.
And
Not quite
let's-
nonstick.
You know what else we could use here, honey?
What could we use?
What could we use? We can use, where's my knife? Here we go.
Of course, he's adding chilies.
Not too many, just a couple of green chilies. If you want it for color, a little bit of onion.
Hi, Houston. Red onions and chili was the suggestion.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. Red onions and chili. And maybe even a little squeeze of lime at the end over there.
Achar from Vish.
Oh, yes. Some achar would be fantastic. A little lime to go with that. And achar is pickle, Indian style pickle. You can get lime pickle, mango pickle, any kind of pickle you want. And let's put a little bit of, somebody had mentioned ghee before. I think a dollop on the rice would go a nice long way. And to finish.
Lots of cilantro suggestions.
Oh, absolutely. We're definitely putting cilantro in there. And
There's the ghee.
Some
That's
ghee.
the ghee on top.
To finish, I don't think this would hurt at all. Just a pinch of Chana Masala right over the onions. Give it a little bit of that funky zing in the background. And let's get some fresh cilantro.
Funky
Whoever
zing.
said that knew what they were talking
There's
about.
the masala.
All right. And some fresh cilantro. I mean, you could also make a little pile of the veggies over here on the side if you wanted to, and then put the cilantro over here and put everything there if you didn't want it directly on the cholle masala. But there you go. I mean,
Yum.
I do so much talking that these shows seem like it takes 30 minutes. I've had people comment to me like, "Oh my God, 30 minutes? Don't you have cooking, tips or a dish that goes faster?" You could literally do this in about 15 minutes, maybe 20 at the most if you have everything ready. And everything ready was simple: canned chickpeas, crushed tomatoes that came out of a can. All you gotta do is saute onions and a little bit of ginger garlic paste. If you have the ginger garlic paste ready in the fridge, then that's easy too. And then your spices, and especially if you get that Dhanajira from Spicewalla. Oh!
Dhanajira. What'd you forget? Oh no!
The garam masala!
I think was
That's
it Vish
the-
just suggesting this? Oh no, Vish was suggesting your roasted cumin powder would be
Roasted
good.
cumin powder would have worked great, but a little bit of garam masala right to finish the dish is what I knew something was missing. So I'm going to put some on the top here, turn the heat on. Remember, garam masala, when I say I forgot it, not during the cooking process, but as a finishing spice. It is, it's just got those, it's so aromatic that if you cook with it, it'll burn, and then it'll just have a bitter background note. But if just as the dish is finishing, a minute or two before you're done, add it, let the heat bloom the garam masala, and that will give that incredible flavor in there. So, you know what's amazing? See this garam masala? That's a collaboration we did with Hawa, who wrote a book called In Bibi's Kitchen. And the entire book covers all of the countries, all of the nations in Africa that go up and down the east coast of Africa that touch the Indian Ocean. And because they touch the Indian Ocean, think of all the trade that happens between India and how much similarity there must have been in spices going back and forth.
It's a beautiful book.
Yeah, a lot of spices also come
Vish is critiquing your tomato quantity. Too tomatoey.
I know. I knew he was going to say that. I'm saying this is the way I grew up eating because this is the way my mom made it. It was literally her recipe. Often in chai pani, people go, it looks a little tomatoey because they're used to that darker masala, like a chana masala. But then they try this and they love it. And the reason we stuck with it and we like it so much at chai pani is because it actually goes fantastic with aloo tikki cholle, samosa cholle, all of those sort of, chaat style dishes where you want cholle as a base. Having this tangier, slightly sweeter tomato-based cholle just works so beautiful with tikkis and samosas and wadas and things that we do with cholle. So that's why we stick to this recipe. I'm not going to change it until I get a call from India saying change it.
Vish, don't mess with mom's cooking.
Mrs. Amrit Irani's cooking. Anyways,
It's the best. It's the best.
There it is. Enjoy. Remember, everything is malleable. Everything is approachable. Everything is evolutionary. Just learn the fundamentals. Every time I cook this dish, I drive those fundamentals home and then just have fun with it. Have fun with the flavor profile. If you get the onions, the spices, and the tomato part right, the rest of it will just be coming along for the ride. You'll be in good shape. Been 8 minutes over today. It's all Vish's fault. This effing kitchen board you wanted over here.
Oh, no, there's like several people now. I opened a can of worms about the kitchen board.
Oh, boy.
Everybody DM Meherwan that was interested in the cutting board creator, and we'll send you his contact information. Vish, I want you to know that Arya is fine. She has a friend picking her up with gas, so all's well. And here's the sleeping teddy signing off. Rosie's asleep somewhere else.
Signing off. Bye, everybody, from the Irani
Bye,
household.
everyone,
It's been
from the whole
fun day.
family.
From the whole family.
Happy
And
New
we'll see
Year.
you next time.
Thanks
Happy
for
New Year.
joining us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Ooh, chai for me.